Hello my dear friends and colleagues. Today we will be discussing about the lower urinary tract symptoms. These symptoms are divided into storage symptoms, voiding symptoms and post-micturition symptoms. Out of these, the most important is the storage symptoms. Storage symptoms means when the bladder is not able to store urine and there is a leakage of urine which is involuntary, that is known as the urinary incontinence. There are three types of urinary incontinence. One is the urge incontinence, stress incontinence, and there is a mixed incontinence. So what is urinary incontinence? It is an involuntary leakage of urine from the urinary tract. Stress incontinence, it means whenever there is a stress, like any condition which will cause rise in the intra-abdominal pressure, like laughing, coughing, sneezing, it will lead to rise in intra-abdominal pressure and simultaneously leakage of urine. And the third is urge incontinence. In this there is a compelling desire to pass urine which is difficult to defer. These are the main three types. Of these, the stress incontinence is the most common. Now this is about the storage symptoms. The voiding symptoms is there is problem with the voiding. So the stream is either very slow or the stream is intermittent, that means it comes and stops, again comes and stops. The third is the hesitancy. So the woman is sitting in the washroom and she is waiting for the urine to start. So difficulty in the initiation of the act of micturition is hesitancy. This is the second class. Now the third is the post-micturition symptom. That is, she is not happy that the act of void is complete. So there is a sense of incomplete voiding and a post-micturition dribble, that when she comes out of the seat, then there is a leakage of few drops of urine. So this is post-micturition dribble. Now what is overactive bladder? It is a symptomatic diagnosis. In this, the patient has a compelling desire to pass urine and it becomes very difficult for her to reach the toilet, and if she manages to reach, then it is a dry OAB, but if she wets herself, then it is a wet OAB. So there is no organic condition which is leading to this, and there is no evidence of infection. So what are the risk factors for this? Number one is age. As the age advances, the risk increases. The risk increases with parity. The risk increases with increase in BMI, obesity. Hysterectomy also increases the risk, and estrogen deficiency is also one of the reasons for this condition. Now hematuria. Hematuria can be microscopic or a gross visible hematuria. So if it is microscopic in a young woman, it can be because of urinary tract infection, but if it is in an old woman, then we have to think about malignancy. In a woman who is more than 40 and there is repeated urinary tract infection and visible hematuria or a mass in the genital tract or in the urinary tract, then we have to think about in the direction of malignancy, and we have to refer her to the specialist clinic and do a cystoscopy for them. Regarding the conditions which mimic urinary incontinence is dysuria, overactive bladder and bladder pain syndrome. So these patients, they present with suprapubic pain and there is a frequency, urgency, and they get relief after passing urine. There are certain investigations which we have to do in these patients. The first one is the urinary infection screen, that is a dipstick method. Which we have seen in the previous video, how to diagnose and treat these conditions. And the second is the post-void residue. The post-void residue is important in women who are having repeated urinary tract infection or voiding problem is there. So what is significant post-void residue? It is said that around more than 100 ml of urine, after the urine is voided and 100 ml is remaining in the bladder, that is considered as significant. Now some patients, they present with continuous leakage of urine. This is generally followed after vaginal delivery, which is a obstructed labor or prolonged delivery or radiotherapy or some kind of genital surgery for malignancy. We have to suspect fistula in them. Now there is one more term, that is overflow incontinence. In this, there is a decreased sensation to void. So the bladder goes on filling and it becomes distended, but there is no sensation to void. It is because of some kind of obstruction. When the bladder is extremely full, there is a leakage of urine. So we have to see for any condition which is causing obstruction in the urinary tract. It can be because of some mass in the abdomen which is pressing on the bladder. So this condition is known as overflow incontinence. In lower urinary tract symptoms, we have to take a proper history about frequency, urgency, fever, burning in micturition, then any condition which is causing leakage, like a history of coughing, sneezing, laughing is inducing the leakage of urine, or if there is any condition which is triggering the urge incontinence, like sometimes they hear the tap water is running and that can also induce leakage. After this, we will classify it as urge incontinence or stress incontinence. Then we have to do a proper examination to see any abdominal masses, and examination lower down to see for any evidence of prolapse, and the pelvic floor muscle thickness has to be done. The second step is a urine examination, that is a urine dipstick test to see for evidence of leukocytes and nitrites, which we have discussed already in the first video. The third test is the post-void residue, which we have to do by ultrasound or by the catheterization. In this, more than 100 ml of urine in the bladder is significant, and PVR is useful in voiding dysfunction and repeated urinary tract infection. The third investigation in the cases of lower urinary tract symptom is the frequency volume chart, that is known as a bladder diary. This has to be recorded for 3 consecutive days, which includes 2 working days and 1 leisure day. This chart, we have to mention the time, the drink, the amount of drink which is taken, the time when she has voided urine, the amount of voided urine, and the amount of leakage, the time of leakage, and the activity which is responsible for the leakage. So this is a beneficial in characterizing the type of urinary incontinence, and it records the condition in an objective manner, because if we ask the woman, she may not be able to recall when exactly she is leaking urine. In this case, it becomes very easy for making the diagnosis. This is an objective method of recording the urinary leakage and helps in the management also, and the patient also can make necessary changes. The fourth test is a urodynamics. It is not a routine test, and it has to be done in 4 indications, like if there is a urge predominant mixed incontinence, or if the diagnosis is not clear. Secondly, if the patient has a stress incontinence and she has been operated and there is failure of surgery. Third is if there is apical prolapse or a anterior wall prolapse, and fourth is if there is voiding difficulties. Urodynamics include uroflowmetry. In this, the patient is asked to void urine, and a computer records the amount of flow, and it is in the form of a bell-shaped curve. It rises slowly and it reaches a peak, and then it falls. The peak flow rate should be more than 15 ml per second. If there is any obstruction, then the bell-shaped curve will be of a smaller size, because for a normal flow, if it comes as a bell-shaped curve, it means that the urethra is opening normally, the detrusor is contracting in a normal way, and so the flow is maintained. But if there is some kind of obstruction, then this flow will not be seen in the bell-shaped curve. Height of the curve will be smaller. It can come in small peaks because of the obstruction, and it can be a prolonged curve. The second is a cystometry. This is in 2 steps, that is the filling cystometry and voiding cystometry. It is used to assess the storage symptoms. In this, the pressure catheters, they are inserted in the rectum, which records the intra-abdominal pressure. The pressure catheter in the bladder is there, which records the intravesical pressure, and then we have to calculate the detrusor pressure. The detrusor pressure is determined by subtracting the abdominal pressure from the vesical pressure, and in this we will fill the bladder by a channel and the pressure is recorded. The desire of micturition, when it comes, that pressure we have to record. So if there is a rise in the intra-abdominal pressure, and there is a rise in the intravesical pressure, and if there is a leak, then it is a stress incontinence. So at that time there is no rise in the detrusor pressure, so that is a stress urodynamic stress incontinence. In cases of detrusor overactivity, whenever there is a rise in the vesical pressure, there is a rise in the detrusor pressure, and there is no rise in the intra-abdominal pressure. So detrusor overactivity, detrusor contractions in the filling phase is suggestive of a detrusor overactivity. This condition is known as urodynamic detrusor overactivity or urodynamic urge incontinence. If you like the content of this video, please subscribe to my channel and don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you.